morning. Welcome back to Business Am. This is Metropole Review. My name is Simbalaji Charles Kiage. We are joined. Economic review, yes. Wow. 7 days is a lot of days. That's exactly what they can do to a man. Anyway, welcome back to Metropole TV. This is Metropole's Economic Review. All right. That's exactly what we're talking about now. You can join us live on Twitter. That is the hashtag BusinessM at Metropole TVKE. You can also now watch us live on YouTube and Facebook. Just search Metropole TV Kenya. We will be right there with you this morning. I'm joined in the studio by the one and only Peter Amanga. We're happy to have you around, sir.
Pleasure.
A lot of things that are really happening within the Kenyan economy, and we're going to get straight into that. And I just want us to jump into exactly this is an issue that we cannot actually avoid. And I know there's a lot also happening in the education sector right now. There's a lot of fights between you and the government, and I just want us to start from there, Mr. Munga. You know, when you look at exactly what is going on now between KNUT and TSC and the whole government approach to this issue, do you think you're finally going to find a lasting solution to your union? And do you think at one point this union will be stifled out?
Actually, from where I sit,
yes,
the government is determined to wipe out the Kenya National Union of Teachers. And not only the Kenya National Union of Teachers, the labor sector in the country. Talk about KMPDU for the doctors, talk about the nurses union, talk about UASU for the professors and the dons in the university. The problem is all third world countries, and especially countries that their economies are growing, are very scared about the labor sector because there are layoffs coming about. There are issues about contracting workers coming about. And so all governments are scared about a strong labor movement, because a strong labor movement will require that the government follows the law when it is employing people. For example, giving them a good medical cover. For example, giving them pension. For example, making sure that they're employed on permanent and pensionable terms. But this kind of things cannot happen, especially when the economies are weak and the third world countries are also being controlled by the IMF. And IMF is advising them to cut down on labor. One way to cut down on labor is kill the strong labor unions like NAT, like KOTU, like UASU. All these things are now under threat. So it's not only NAT. And this, as you asked very correctly, will this come to an end? It will come to an end when finally Kenyans, the people, discover that quality of education has gone down. Because the moment you fight the unionists, you are fighting education, teachers will not teach properly, and many things will go wrong. So that's what the problem is.
And I just want to, before we move directly to whatever it is that we have this morning, at the end of the day, really, when you see the source of this fight, because we have to really go back and see where it started from, is it not when it comes to the way in which teachers are getting remunerated in this country?
Yes, it goes back to the pay. The pay has always been down for teachers. Actually, even that's why the CBC, the new curriculum, may not really do much, because a good curriculum, a good education is quality environment. That is, the schools must be good, sanitation must be good. Then quality tools. Tools means the chalk, the classroom, the roofs, the blackboard, the computers, the pens and all that, the stationery. And then the last thing that brings about a good quality education is a quality, well-trained and paid teachers. And that's where our government has failed. It has failed to motivate teachers. Right now, the morale of teachers is very low. After the court ruling, what the Teacher Service Commission did, there was a ruling that said promote teachers as per schemes of service. The TSC went back and started to punish the teachers who are members of NAT by recovering whatever they had paid them earlier, the last 2 years. So right now teachers are getting negative. And most teachers earn around 10,000, 15,000. Remove something like 4,000 or 5,000, that teacher is down. My friend, no teaching is going on in those schools. We are in the trade union movement. We know a demotivated teacher cannot teach. That's the problem now. It goes back to the child, the learner in the classroom. There's no quality of learning. And that's why when the results come out, look at public schools. Look at the way they perform. Go for drama festivals. Right now, the schools that won at the music festivals were the private schools. They're able to afford to motivate their teachers to train the kids well, to dance, to do all those things. Our public schools teachers are demotivated.
Yes.
They can't do much.
All right, with that note, therefore, Mr. Munga, I just want us to look at the other issues that are actually going on in the economy right now. Now, Kenya has been nominated as a candidate for UN Security Council seat after defeating Djibouti in a vote held at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Now, the endorsement means Kenya becomes Africa's sole candidate for the race for the non-permanent seat for 2021-2022. Now, in a secret ballot on Wednesday morning, Nairobi garnered 37 votes against Djibouti's 13 in a second round of voting in which 51 of the 55 AU members states were present. Now, in the first round, Kenya missed the two-thirds majority threshold after winning 34 votes against Djibouti's 15 with 2 abstentions. Now, there was no abstentions in the second round of voting. Now, Kenya has been lobbying for the seat within the continent and globally. Now, the country had garnered 33 ballots on a vote held on August 5th at the AU, following short of the two-thirds majority rule required on substantial decisions. Now, the endorsement now gives Nairobi renewed impetus to campaign for a seat it had declared interest in 2018. Now, traditionally, the AU had often reached the UNSC candidature decisions through consensus, but Kenya and Djibouti failed to agree on who should step down. Now, for Foreign Affairs, Cabinet Secretary Dr. Monica Juma said the vote was a show of confidence for Kenya to represent Africa's agenda at the UNSC. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it there. It's a good thing for Kenya, isn't it?
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Very good for a country, very good to show this confidence. People have some confidence in our country. We congratulate our Foreign Affairs Department.
Yes.
Yeah, for this.
Other than that, though,
Yeah.
we've seen that Kenya's kept on attracting foreign offices, foreign positions, foreign seats. I mean, if you look back at exactly the councils that even come to Kenya within 1 year, there are so many. But I want to ask you this question, therefore. I mean, if you look at what Juma is saying there, she's saying, look, that this expresses confidence within Kenya to represent Africa's agenda. Peter Munga, what is Africa's agenda and how does Kenya fit into it?
Yes, actually, Africa's agenda right now has just been more of infrastructure development and more of building partnerships with other countries in the world.
Yes.
And coming together, you know, forming something like the European Union, to have something that has got some common currency, the roads, the infrastructure, the railway system, Lagos, Cairo, you know, that kind of infrastructure. That has been the main agenda in Africa. And Kenya is at the heartbeat of it. Because Kenya, the economy, being where it is strategically placed in the East Africa and the Horn of Africa, Kenya becomes a very strategic country because it opens up the Indian Ocean and then also it brings out the Eastern world. You know, it connects right from the history times when you remember Vasco da Gama looking for the sea route to India, Malindi and Mombasa became very important. Up to now, Kenya still remains very important in that. And so the agenda of Africa is to connect Africa with the rest of the world. Africa is like a man who's late for the train and trying to catch up. And so Africa is running to catch up with the rest of the world. And Kenya becomes key and crucial in this. So for this kind of seat that Kenya has won, and also given that we host several UN agencies in Nairobi, the Habitat and you know, all this, they are here in Nairobi. So we say that Kenya becomes crucial, and this vote is very important.
You would think that for Peter Munga that if Kenya is able to attract this sort of confidence, this sort of votes and this sort of all international sports into the Kenyan economy, then you would think that at some point, therefore, that our economy will start taking the right direction, that some things will start working right. Case in point, like this now, the UN sport that the country has now just won. If you look at the way in which Kenya positions itself economically, you can say that things are not really going okay, despite all this confidence that we're getting.
Of course.
Yes.
The truth, absolutely speaking, is that our economy is not doing very well. Even though the world may be showing some confidence in us, but when we look at our economy and the way things are run,
Yes.
and corruption, when all
And
this
especially when it comes to leadership,
yes,
do you think that these are some of the things that should now make Kenya turn around?
they should help us to turn around. They should know that we are looked at as an elder brother in this part of the world.
Yes.
That people look upon us and think Kenya is a better place to be. The problem is that do our leaders recognize this? Do they realize that people around the world know that we are very strategically important? I think that's where the question is.
Yes.
Because our leaders, when they take power, they tend to forget who we are, how the rest of the world looks at us. It says that to whom much is given, much is expected. That's what the Bible says. Kenya needs to reach that kind of place whereby we know much is expected from us because of what has been given to us by nature, by God, by human resource. Kenyans by nature are hardworking. They are resilient. They are people who don't give up. So we as Kenyans have come out across the world. When we take our students to the universities abroad, when Kenyans go to work in America, in the US, in Europe and in Asia, Kenyans come out as people who are very resilient. They are looked upon as people who can do it, who can make it. The problem, as you've put it, starts with us and with our leadership.
Yes.
Our leadership has let us down. And that's why our politics must change from being selfish-driven to being ideology, to have ideas, and to be led by philosophies. Like now what the UN, we are going to get at the UN, needs to be philosophical. What are we going to tell the world that we can do as Kenyans? What are we offering the world as Kenyans? And that is where now the bottom line is.
Yes. All right, I just want on that note for us to cross over to another issue that everybody now has been waiting for us to talk about this morning. And I know you and me might have different directions or positions on this issue, but I just want us to delve into it. Now, members of the National Assembly and Senate have advised the state to allow the farms, that is betting farms, to continue with their operations. Now, the leader said the suspension of the farms' licenses could have crippled the sports sector, which relies heavily on sponsorship by the affected companies. SportPesa and Betin, which have been sponsoring local tournaments, including Kenya Premier League, are some of the affected companies. Now, the MPs also claimed that Kenyans employed in the affected farms risk losing their jobs. They have hence asked the government to resolve the stalemate that has seen over 20 betting companies denied licenses and in a 61 billion shillings tax war. Now, nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura said visually impaired people and those with albinism were being harmed by the stalemate after SportPesa stopped providing them with the braille machines and sunscreen. Now, people were really benefiting from businesses besides just betting. It's actually now coming clear, well, they were actually doing a lot of community social responsibility.
It's true.
But here's the thing, Amunga, that I really want to ask you this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it is clear now what the government is pushing for. We've seen exactly how this is come down. At first, it was all the Kenyan youth are into betting. Yeah. They gave us the numbers. And they said 500,000 youth are getting listed because they're taking loans to get into betting. But the other side also is that our economy, especially in the sports scene, have been really relying on betting farms in the country. Now, everybody was talking about morality. You saw members of parliament met, they said, well, you can't introduce morality into business. Yes. Now, there's a turnaround in this scenario here. Even KRA now is being put on the spot saying, look, this 61 billion shillings that you're demanding from us is either here nor there. Yeah. Actually, there was a high court order that was stopping the betting and licensing board from stopping the businesses of these betting farms in the country. Now, when you look at this issue, doesn't it therefore stop being that the betting farms are wrong, that the betting business is unconstitutional? All of us know that is a lawful business in the Kenyan constitution.
Yes, of course.
Where is the point that we should be looking at this issue from?
This issue seems to have other interests. There seems to be some vested interests. You cannot ban a few select betting farms and still license others. You know, it is brings about something like it's kind of double, standards, because
Yes.
you cannot be talking about that one of the farms that has been doing so well is not paying taxes, it is immoral,
Yes.
it is doing all these kind of things, yet you continue to license others. If you want to ban betting in Kenya, ban all betting farms.
Yes.
Why will you ban a few and leave a few others? That means there's something not right.
Are we afraid, Amanga,
Yes.
is the government afraid of saying, well, when it comes to betting business, we just want local farms to get into this business?
Yes, but even when you look at
Yes.
that also, the truth of the matter is that even the current farms, the ones that we are talking about,
Yes.
have a lot of indigenous people running them.
Yes.
We have a lot of people part of them. So you cannot run away from the fact that our Kenyans are actually the biggest employees, the biggest beneficiaries. Whether the farms are run from outside the country or from within the country, the beneficiaries of these betting farms
Yes.
is now coming out. Are our visually impaired people, like Senator Isaac Maura is saying? Are our sports people? And even Sports Pesa was awarded a certificate of compliance with KRA.
Isn't it from KRA?
Tax. Yes.
Isn't it?
So the same KRA awards you a certificate of compliance and says you are one of the best. And then again, after a few
Turns
days,
around and tells you
says
you haven't paid
you
your
have not
tax.
paid your tax.
And
this is the problem
Yes.
that we are now seeing emerge from Keroche Industries.
Yes.
Last night you must have seen it.
Of course, there was that
Yes.
press statement.
So
that,
it's the same thing that we are
Yes.
seeing again. Keroche now seems to be being told you've not been paying, yet Keroche got a certificate also some time back of compliance.
Yes.
So the question we are asking, what is going on?
Yes.
Somebody somewhere at KRA has either been sleeping on the job or lying to Kenyans,
Yes.
and the problem is not with the betting farms. It is back at KRA, at the Times Towers. That's
Yes.
where the problem is.
But is it really at KRA? Because when you look at it, the only thing KRA does is pretty much come in and work with orders. Do you think there are orders coming from somewhere that are forcing KRA to go this way? Because it's not a good report.
Yes.
To the point that even, Mr. Munga,
Yeah.
KRA actually defied a court order from High Court,
Yes.
stopping them, telling the betting and licensing board to cancel their licenses.
Right.
Do you think that there are orders coming from somewhere?
Yes, and yesterday you must have seen one of the dailies wrote that we are living in a jungle kind of society nowadays, where people can disobey law, cannot disobey court orders, can do things. This is obviously orders from above.
Yes.
The moment you see somebody disobey court orders, somebody above, actually this is what's coming out. It's like somebody wants these big betting firms to go so that they can introduce their business. They know betting is a big business right now in Kenya and in the world, not only in Kenya, in the world. Even the Premier League, look at the adverts as the Premier League games are going on the boards. It is all about betting firms. They are now accepted internationally. They are happening nowadays. And Sport Pesa has even been sponsoring a Premier League team. So this is not something that you can just say is something small. It's a big thing. It can only be from above. Somebody somewhere wants to introduce his betting firm or wants to protect a certain betting firm, kill others, and then introduce yours.
There was a lot of silence when we saw Matiang'i go for these betting farms in the country, even actually threatened, he actually did deport some of them people running this betting business in the country. Wow. At that point, we didn't see a lot of uproar from the senators and members of parliament. In fact, it was all a silence game, isn't it?
Yes.
Up to some point where we've seen a turnaround where now members of parliament and senators are now ganging against the government to see to the fact that these betting farms in the economy are actually given back their licenses. But shouldn't we therefore also address this other side where they're saying, well, if most people are getting into betting, should we therefore tax them more and more? Now we are at 35%. Should we talk therefore 50% therefore?
And that's even wrong.
Yes.
Even the way they are taxing the betting firms, even the ways they are doing it is even wrong.
Yes.
You've not even betted the money yet, but they are taxing that money. So
isn't it?
already there is a lot of bad games going on.
There's tax on the bet,
they
there's
tax
tax on winnings, and then there's withholding, isn't it?
Saving us from your bettings. So we are saying there is something not very right.
Yes.
Somebody somewhere is playing. And that is where the problem in Kenya comes. We have something in this our constitution called public participation.
Yes.
It reaches a place that people do things in this country without involving the public, without thinking about what the public is perceiving. And that's why you ask a very good question. How come our members of parliament were quiet? How come our senators are quiet? The reason why they are quiet, they start thinking first, where is our political stand on this? Where is our political party saying about this?
Yes.
Where is the handshake in this?
Yes.
So by the time they make up their mind, oh, the handshake is not in this, it is too late. Somebody has been deported. Somebody has gone away. Jobs have been lost.
Yes.
Our members of parliament need to have independent minds. Think fast as a lawmaker and make your decision very quickly. Stop waiting to hear from above or from what political party is saying, and make a decision that can save this country.
Yes.
The betting firms have really grown our economy. Even from our medias, even from adverts in the papers and everywhere in the media houses. We can't just watch them being harassed as Kenyans. And I even tend to think, the fourth estate, who are you right now?
Yes.
Need to have made more noise than even the senators and the parliamentarians. Because these betting firms have also benefited our fourth estate. That's what you can say.
Something to think about, isn't it? Right, let's move to another. This is also very strategic this morning, because issues on irrigation projects in the country. Every time you mention it, Mr. Munga, then there's something that Kenyans have to say about that, and it's always on the negative. Let's get the basis therefore. Now, the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture has given a go-ahead to the 1 million acre Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme, an approval that comes as a relief to the National Irrigation Board that has over the years been at pains to defend the project's viability. Now, Ali Adanahaji, the chairperson of the committee, said that from what the committee had seen at the 10,000 acre pilot farm, the project is viable and can play a major role in boosting food security in the country. Now, the legislature also asked Kenyans to give the project time before starting to query its value for money, given its capital-intensive nature. Recently, we saw that the Israeli contractor Green Arava pulled out of the project with claims of non-payment, a claim that NIB has refuted. Now, the members of parliament asked the board to move with speed to resolve the row to avoid stalling the project. Now, Irrigation Principal Secretary Fred Segor said the two parties are already engaging in talks to try and settle the issues by next month. Now, the project has fallen behind schedule as it was supposed to have been completed and opened on large scale to the private sector. So far, the model farm is 85% complete. About 1,500 acres are currently under maize crop, with harvesting expected to start in September. Now, NIB expects to get about 30 bags per acre. Let's stop there. It's good news.
Yeah.
It's good news. But at the back end of that, it's not the first time that we're getting controversy over irrigation projects in this country. I don't want us to talk about the Kimarere and the Roll dams, which every Kenyan will look at and say, wow, let's not get there, isn't it? But what we've seen from this government is that from time to time, they're really pushing to get agriculture back and running in the Kenyan economy. But where there is money, there's always controversy. This is late, and we're talking about 85% complete right now. Do you think this is going to be the magic bullet to the maize situation in this country?
I wish it could work. Actually, any Kenyan, any right-thinking Kenyan will tell you, this should have worked.
Yes.
But the problem we have is, could it be leadership? Could it be vested interest? Could it be people feeling that to sabotage this government?
Yes.
That is the only problem. But this is a great thing. It's a great idea.
Yes.
But you see, you did mention in the report that you've just given that the Israeli farm that was actually hired to manage this thing claims it has not been paid.
Yes.
And you know, there's been push and pull and shove that the person who is brought in to do this work says they've not been paid.
Yes.
And that is where the problem is. You bring in the experts, you bring in everything, those good tractors you can see there, good machinery, good everything. Then somebody somewhere pulls out the cog from the whole wheel and the thing stops.
Yes.
It is sabotage. That's what I can call it. Economic sabotage.
Don't you find it a bit alarming, therefore, that, you know, these farms, we are talking about contracts. And when you listen to both sides of the story, they will tell you, well, we have paid a majority of the money.
Yes.
Okay. This money was supposed to to be paid upon completion of the project.
Yes.
The other side will tell you, well, we haven't been paid. You know, it's very easy really to track this money. Where is the contract? Here it is.
Yes.
How much money was released? Go check the bank account.
Yes.
Because this was a well accounted for project.
Very well accounted.
Here it is. So why don't we have somebody from the Irrigation Board really coming and telling us, well, this is the true story? And why do we have this back and forth, which is now taking months for something that any common person within the Kenyan economy will say, well, you should be settling it already.
Monkey business going on.
Yes.
It's just fishy business. But that is why I want to draw you back to this thing called the SGR.
Yes.
You see, the contract with the SGR was such that you run for us this farm, this SGR, for a number of years, recover whatever you have given us, then give it to us or something like that.
Yes.
That is why you see the SGR continues to run. Actually, I want to tell you, I've used the SGR. It's one of the best run something in Kenya.
Yes.
This farm that we're talking about, Galano Kulalu, could even do better, or maybe could be better, if we had gotten the Israeli farm, signed a contract with them, told them run this farm for us.
As opposed to just getting it off and then giving it to us.
Then just run it for us. Because we have proved, as Kenyans, we have proved, my friend, that we can't do much in terms of running public utilities. We are defeated. We have a mentality, that a gene in us. We are born with something in us that has refused to work. We can run our private businesses, but anything public, we are totally defeated to run them.
Yes.
Be it public toilets, be it public schools, be it public farms like this one, be it any public buses, public transport, anything called public. It came out from those days of Mau Mau when we were fighting the colonialists. They say, "Yo ni mali ya umma." So mali ya umma, according to the psychology in us, should be eaten, should be spoiled. Yo ni choo ya umma.
Yeah.
Haribu yo choo, sababu ni ya umma.
Yes.
Don't use it well. So anything that is called mali ya umma in this country is meant, from our historical background, to be spoiled, to be eaten, to be destroyed.
Yes.
Until the day the gene in us and the blood in us is changed and transfused to believe that what is public is also ours. That's when things like Gulano Kalalu will work.
Yes, but and I want to ask you this question really, because we're going to talk about it next as well. This is the corruption issues and the way in which public projects are really carried on. Because if you saw in the 2019-2020 budget, former CS Rotich did say, well, we are not going to release any money for a government project that is already stalled, because we do know how money is released into projects. You come up with a budget, you give us your estimates. Actually, some of these are correct estimates. That's because true. You do know how much it's going to cost you, okay? We give you the money, you give us the timelines, and then we work within those timelines. Now, we do know we are not going to ask for more money unless you get this already solved, isn't it?
Yes.
But me and you are sitting here looking at a project that is 85% complete, that is way behind its deadline.
Yes.
But nobody has lost their job, sir.
That is the question. Nobody's losing their job. And that's the problem, is about supervision.
Yes.
It's about who is in charge. How to get a person to be in charge of this farm and our projects is where the problem is. And nobody's sacked, because why? They are political appointees. They are political rejects. There are people who maybe failed in other places and were brought there to fail more.
Yes.
The problem is how we choose people to lead our state farms and projects.
Yes.
The way people are appointed, at the river, water, whatever, somebody's picked some political reject who didn't even make it in school, who has no CV, who has no record to show he can do it, is given a job. And a young person from college with a great mind, with a great thoughts and great ideas, is not given the chance to run this kind of thing.
And I want to ask you one very important question before we move into our next issue this morning. We do know that the Irrigation Board actually operates within the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes, yes.
Is it time, therefore, Mr. Munga, for us to question the performance of this man up there, the CS? Because it's not the very first time that it's getting questioned about the way he's running the ministry.
Of course, he is the problem. Actually, at the end of the day, the buck stops at his desk.
Yes.
He should have even left and quit the ministry, because the problems we are having right now in the agriculture sector start and emanate from that office called Kilimo House here, up here. That is where the problem is. The minister is the source of all our problems.
Yes.
If he knew how to select his people, he knew how to supervise the jobs, he knew how to run around and see what's happening around the country, we'll not be talking what we're talking right now.
Guess what? It's not from me, it's from Mr. Munga.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time he's getting quoted on this. Good. On that note, therefore, I just want us to move strictly into the next topic where we're talking about the struggle continuing. And as it stands, Kabura isn't getting out of sight anytime soon. Now, Josephine Kabura, if you do know, and Benson Getty, among the 11 people who have now been charged with money laundering after the prosecution amended the charges against them in the National Youth Services scandal. Now, they now face 16 counts after the Director of Public Prosecutions, that's the DPP, brought the additional charge on Tuesday. Now, the prosecution also amended some of the amounts stated in the charge sheet and the dates they are alleged to have been committed. Now, so far, 9 witnesses have testified, and the prosecution had indicated that it would soon be calling 35 people to give testimony in the case. I just want us to leave it there. Now, the amount of money that they've been told they've stolen is actually 791,385 bob.
Yeah.
I have one question for you, sir, this morning. Do you think that this man, Haji, is the right man to turn around corruption issues in this country? And are we making progress?
No. We are not going nowhere. Nothing is going on, NGO, nothing going on. Because obviously, if you amend the charge sheet,
Yes.
so where are you when the charge sheet was being written in the first place?
Can we look at it? Can we look at this and say this is progress? There are deeper investigations into this. Now, these ones, the likes of Givy are getting accused of money laundering.
Yeah, but still, that is where the problem is.
Yes.
Why did you first of all arrest them if you didn't know what they had done?
Yes.
Look at all the corruption cases that we're having. I want to say it on this show, that even the CS for Treasury, Rotich, very soon he'll be acquitted and they'll have to apologize to him and give him back paying for the money lost that he didn't get. You know, because the charge sheets, anytime these charge sheets are read in court, any lawyer, any street lawyer, any bush lawyer like me will tell you this is hogwash, it's rubbish, it's nothing. Because you can't tie somebody with those kind of charge sheets. I'm happy they've tried to amend them. Several lawyers whom I talked to last night said, maybe something may be starting to go on. Maybe these guys are starting to discover that they've been doing a lot of drama, a lot of show-off. You Kamata Friday, you what. You know, all these things have just been drama. And just kind of, none of these people can be jailed in a proper law using this kind of charge sheets. And we can say this as a country. Could Hajj, and I tend to think, many of the progressive people in Nairobi are telling us this, Haji and even Kinoti and his friends, they may just be there to whitewash these things, just to whitewash them more white, and just go through the system and go the other side and continue your life. There is nothing much going on. That's what we tend to think.
Could you say, though, and Richie, this is my last question, I know, could you say, though, that looking at what he's telling us now and looking at the way he's pushing people now, we do know why Titu is in trouble, we know Rotich is in trouble. This time it is taking, therefore, for us to have these cases settled. Do you think that even the NYS case has taken so far a time for this case to get concluded?
It's so long.
And you think that that's what do Kenyans need? Do Kenyans need immediacy in the conclusion of this case?
Kenyans need immediacy.
Yes.
I want to give an example. There was a chicken gate scandal. It involved something about printing of some material for exam council.
Yes.
That is around 10 years ago. The people who are involved in it, in England, in Britain, they already jailed. Actually, they have finished their sentences. They are out now.
Yes.
In Kenya, the case is still going on somewhere in court. The files are being pushed from one court to another.
Yes.
Kenyans don't want that anymore. Go on Twitter, go anywhere. Kenyans on Twitter, Kenyans on social media. They have rejected this kind of thing that Hajj is doing.
Yes.
And this thing of just going to social media and putting people's faces on social media and saying that so and so has done this, no evidence, take them to court on 1 or 2 days, they come out. We believe this is just drama.
All right.
Going on.
On that note, Rishi, I have your time, therefore, Mr. Munga. Always a pleasure to have you around, sir. All right. You've been watching Business Am Metropole Economic Review. Is it Metropole Review? Yes. Good. Yeah, it's been 7 days. I might forget. Sorry, Tabitha. Anyway, so some of these conversations are going straight to YouTube. Just go search for Metropole Review, YouTube, Business Am. You're going to find Mr. Munga there, and on Facebook immediately after this. Find us there. Let us get talking. Get us online. Hashtag Business Am at Metropole TVKE. We'll keep on speaking more. Next, we're going into Metropole sector trends. What do we have for you? More advertising. Let's talk about it next.
Wow, that's nice.
That was good.